All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Gospel of Comics. I'm going to go ahead and run the intro song here in just a second, but figured we just catch everybody up to speed. I know you're all still watching Game of Thrones right now, so I figure figure we'll go ahead and sneak this episode in on you, so you got something to do afterwards, right?
Exactly. Or something to do that's better.
I'm not making that claim, sir. Even if I don't like the
Come on,
show,
our production values.
I mean, you got that right. But I mean, if you really think about it, I guess you can go with viewer count on which show is better. I think that's a pretty. I don't think there's that many people hate watching Game of Thrones right now. But anyway, we're going to be talking about Adolescent, Radioactive, Black Belt Hamsters Volume 2 by Dynamite Comics, created by Don Chen and Parsonovich. And I feel like I'm swearing every time I say his name. But
I know.
I feel like I'm trying to slip a swear word by my mother when I'm like 8 years old. Parsonovich. But the actual creation team
in it.
The actual creation team for these comics is different. We'll talk about all that and go ahead and run the intro here before we just get too far out. All right. So, like I said, welcome everyone to the Gospel of Comics, the Sunday night edition. Kind of continuing with a Dynamite weekend. I'm not sure how it worked out like that. I don't think we actually planned it. It just kind of happened that way. But we've got a
No, we totally planned it.
Nah, man, we're not that good. Don't lie to the people. But yeah, we ended up doing Dynamite Dinosaurs yesterday. I can speak. And today we're covering Volume 2 of the Adolescent Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters and a few other things. I guess we can go ahead and jump right into it, or do you want to cover the Part 3 announcement that we had? Should we save that, or should we go ahead and just get it out early?
I like a little mystery.
Okay, all right. We'll save it for after we finish Volume 2 before we get into anything else. So, Dynamite Entertainment picked up the license for the Adolescent Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters around 2008, I believe.
Yes, that sounds right.
And essentially, the books pick up probably 20 years later, like real time. So 20, 30 years later, after the end of the original 9 issues. And we're initially introduced to an entirely new lineup of 5 hamsters and not 4. So immediately I was a little bit taken off guard by that. Like I expected
Me too.
I expected this to, especially from the cover, to be a little bit of a reboot. But they pick up and they've got the five new hamsters. So there's also the establishing shot of the Himalayas, where the monks come from, and right off the bat, this is a very beautiful comic
book. Yes, the artwork is very, very good.
But we'll just we'll go ahead and give credit where credit is due here. Again, this is created by Don Chen and Parsonovich, and it is written by Keith Champagne. That's a great name. Tom Tom Wynn. Is that how you pronounce the NG? Tom Wynn.
Jeez. No idea.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm trying to be correct. Feel free to correct and mock me in the chat. No problem with that, or in comments. Lettered by Zach Matney and colored by Moose Bowman. Um, I already love these guys. Keith Champagne, Moose Bowman, Tom Nguyen, uh, Zach Matney. That's the only one. But Moose Bowman, I want to have beer with that guy.
Just because his name is Moose.
That is correct. That is one of the only reasons. But yeah, we pick up at the Himalayas where the monks are at, and they have a little banter back and forth. But you eventually also find out that the monastery is being invaded, and from that point, we are introduced to our new hamsters. Let's see if we can figure out who they're referenced off of.
Oh yes, it was very difficult to figure this one out.
There's the rock. Do you need me to screen share, by the way? I assumed you were okay, but do you need...
I have the stream up.
Okay, all right. Well, hey, that's our one viewer, guys. How's it going, Becky? Thanks for joining us. But yeah, these are the new hamsters. They essentially are modeled after The Rock, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Steven Seagal, and Lucy Lawless.
Which I thought the Steven hamster was pretty amazing.
He was indeed my favorite. And they're summoned back to the mountains of the Himalayas by the Dalai Lama. So already, even though this is more of a standard, standard comic format, it's a little more what you're accustomed to in modern comics as opposed to what people would have been accustomed to in the 80s. And I'll go off on that in just a second, but you can agree with that, right? This is
yeah.
This reads a lot faster.
Yeah, I was actually kind of bummed it wasn't as like insane and crazy as the original ones.
I do feel like they captured the spirit of the hamsters. I do feel like they captured the essence of it. Maybe not replicated it verbatim, but in comparison to other modern comics that we've read, they definitely had a lot more insane stuff going on than you would normally get.
True.
But
I don't know. I will have to say I enjoyed it, but I wasn't laughing out loud like when I first started reading the original.
That's fair.
Ones.
That's fair. I think they had a little more of a cohesive storyline going into this than
which I was kind of bummed that there was an actual storyline.
But I mean, all in all, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I didn't like it more than the original.
I did like it.
I didn't like it more than the original, but we're introduced to these hamsters, and they're the second best, so to speak, is what the Dalai Lama says. So they start on their whole joint quest back to the monastery, and they're who did they encounter? What's his name? Genghis Khan.
The reincarnation of Genghis Khan.
Right.
Or the metrosexual reincarnation of Genghis Khan.
That is correct. Yes. Don't. We'll go ahead and get that pulled up here. There's also one scene that I also have to get pulled up. The death of Stephen. He walks in and gets lit up with arrows and walks right back out and dies. Um, not even one issue into the series, we've already got a dead hamster. His last word
I'm
is
surprised.
to go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm surprised PETA didn't boycott these comic books.
I'm sure they did, 100%. His last word is puberty. By the way, that was a nice touch. But yes, the reincarnated and androgynous metrosexual Genghis Khan is is attacking the monastery with a load of Huns, and the Dalai Lama has been killed, and she summoned Master Locke. So that's that's essentially where we kind of end up here in this issue. They have to go find the original the hamsters, and at this point in the story, I'm not entirely committed yet. I think that's issue 2 when it really picks up and makes you really have to enjoy these things.
Yeah,
The fight scenes are amazing, but within the first comic book, Jean Claude is shot multiple times with arrows. Stephen is killed by arrows, and Lucy falls off of the side of the monastery. That's pretty much the end of book 1. I'll pull that panel up.
Now, one thing I have to say: any furries coming to watch this just for Lucy's design, get out.
No man, they have the view count. Let's just you have to post in chat and be ridiculed for it, but you're welcome to stay.
Okay, as long as we can ridicule them for it and they have to be named.
That's right. That's right. We're gonna need real names. Um, I'll be posting this chat to Mr. Anti-Bully's Twitter so that he can tell Jim about it. But yeah. So also, this is we can go ahead and talk about this. This is the first iteration of the female hamster. Kind of like they did the female turtle around this time in the Ninja Turtles. So that was another aspect of the parody that they just kept rolling with, and I appreciated that.
See, that I didn't know. I'm not as versed in the Ninja Turtles comics as I was like the old cartoons and the really bad rubber suit movie.
There were 3 of those movies, sir.
Well,
And
the first one.
I watched them all. Why are you such a bad person?
One of us has to be.
Yeah, true. Um, that'll carry us into issue 2, though. And like I said, so far I wasn't as invested as I feel like I could have been, but it was really good. So don't get me wrong there. Now the girl is saved and brought to Master Locke because Master Locke has been exiled from the monastery and has been living with the Yetis that were mentioned in the first volume. That was another nice callback.
Yes, it was.
Now, I want to know when he gave up looking for the hamsters from volume 1 and just decided to go back to the monastery for volume 2. How long did he spend? Is that why he got excommunicated? There's so many questions.
I wonder if there's a fan wiki that has some theories on the answer to that.
Oh God, don't say that. I want to sleep tonight. So, you what are your thoughts so far with where we're at?
Kind of about the same. I wasn't as like immediately pulled into it as the the original series, but it is definitely very good.
Yeah.
I do kind of miss the. I'm trying to think of the best word, like this.
The wackiness.
the schlubbiness of the original art style, but it makes sense with this actually being a cohesive story. I don't think you could use that art style with a real story. I think they kind of went hand in hand. You know?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the scene where I was pretty much fully invested in this story. Um, about the time you see Jackie climbing up a mountain carrying a panda on his back. um, Jackie has been in basically self isolation for however many years because of the guilt that he feels over his brothers falling out. We don't know why that's happened yet, but he's gone out and hunted a panda, or actually went and found a dead
Well,
panda, I guess.
yes, he found a dead panda because hunting them is reserved only for the samurai.
Right, right, and I think this is kind of a nice callback to the original ideas of you never know why or what the hell's going on, because this is not anywhere near how samurais worked. But he's got a nice dragon tattoo now. Excuse me. He's got a nice dragon tattoo now, and he's uh, he's living in this conclave where pretty much everyone there hates him, and no one's allowed to call him by his name because it's some honorable I will have no name until I'm reunited with my brothers kind of thing.
Yeah, a little cheesy melodrama.
Yeah, but Jackie is the family man of the group is what we're established. Now he proceeds to whip the living hell out of these samurais, but then is excommunicated from the enclave by the Golden Child. Let's get him up. Golden Child was pretty hilarious.
Yes, I did enjoy the Golden Child.
Um, there we go, and we'll just pull him up for now. Chewing bubblegum, playing a Game Boy. Apparently playing Guitar Hero on a Game Boy, because that's the thing.
Yeah, that was a little bit confusing.
But he's excommunicated, and he's told that he has to get out. But before he gets out, he's got to call in the conference room. So at that point, he carries on and goes to take the call, and it's Master Lock because the other hamsters are in danger. So Master Lock tells him that we've got your brothers here, and you need to come help them, which is kind of a dick move.
And to stop interrupting him because it's a very expensive call to make.
Yes. So then we have the what is it? The ninja.
Well, then,
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say then he goes to send Lucy to go pick him up in the jet.
Right.
But first, she has to sweep out the cave of all the Yeti droppings.
Right. That's one thing that he's been adamant about this whole time is that he's gonna have to she's gonna have to sweep up the Yeti droppings. It smells really bad. Yeah, I'll pull that up. There we go. But yeah, you got this whole thing you have to go do, and here, take these ninja yetis with you who have been trained in the art of silence. But they get to the cave, but not before Genghis Khan has essentially lured Rock and Arnold down to the lower levels to discuss the radioactive Jello.
The space Jello, I believe.
Let's see. Yeah, the radioactive space jello. Uh, this was actually introduced in one of the
Which
auxiliary issues that we were reading.
it was.
Lost in New York, I believe. Somebody just had a briefcase of it, and it got rid of Clint's what was it? His mohawk. It made his hair grow in like a normal person. And then we might talk about that one later. But let's just say the radioactive Jello was fed to neo Nazis, and it turned them into hipster capitalists, which are yuppie capitalist.
Yes. Yes.
So not a big fan of Nazis out there. So it's always a good call. But that's the space Jello is the absolute best weapon against the Nazis, apparently.
It is. So just remember that, everybody out there
That's right.
who might hate Nazis, just feed them Jello from space.
And if anybody ever calls you a Nazi, you can prove you're not one by eating some space Jello.
Exactly.
I'm
And
eating some right now.
if you don't turn into a yuppie, then you're not a Nazi.
Right. I would also advise wearing your lead underpants while eating the radioactive Jello.
That's probably wise, especially if you want to have children.
But by now, I'm pretty much invested in this story because I know my hamsters are still alive, and I'm actually sad at this point that there are only 2 issues of this left. Um, I realize that they're going to have to cram so much into 2 more issues that it just is heartbreaking because I know I'm not going to get all the story I want, and that actually comes up later. That a pupper in the background
Yeah.
giving you a hard time. Dad, I want to go out.
No, that was because I dared to touch her while she was laying up against me.
Oh yeah, no, that's not what that's there. What were you thinking? You don't want to get me too by your own dog.
Yeah.
I have to disavow. Now, issue 3 just throws us right in to meeting back up with Chuck and Bruce. I still want to know how Bruce got out of the situation with Infidel Castro. However, I'm not going to get that. Also, this one was not colored by Moose, and I'm a little upset by that. Just noticed that.
Who colored this one?
Light Studios. It's all digital coloring from a coloring studio. It's not bad. It's just not done by Moose, and that makes me sad.
Yeah.
Also, I'll go ahead and tell everybody that's watching that is a chupacabra right there with the right there on the cover with the hamsters. So we've got 2 tubby little hamsters, one of which is a apparent sex magnet to chupacabras, and one of which is riding a mechanical horse. I don't know why.
With a cooler in the side filled with root beer.
Yes.
Now, so this is what I was wondering. So in the original ones, Clint was basically an alcoholic.
Right.
Do you think they had to change it to root beer because just of the modern times they couldn't get away with having hamsters actually drinking beer? That's kind of what I thought.
That's an interesting question. I'm not sure because there was a certain point in time when Wolverine eventually stopped smoking cigars, or drinking beer, and it was before 2008. So yes, that's probably a very astute observation. I didn't even think about it. I just with it is a teen plus book, so if you were gonna have alcohol in it, it wouldn't be a sin or anything. It's not like it's an all ages comic, but huh.
Look who was prepared today.
Hey man, like I said, I had a tree fall that I had to deal with. I didn't have as much time as I thought I would. Been a very busy weekend. Been very tired. You saw the. But let me just take an aside here. During the post show conversation, Ayrton and I were discussing our comic collections. We're gonna talk about this now since you're gonna call me out for you know having to do some yard work. And I pulled out my long boxes and shot him an image of what my collection looked like. And about, about how many comics would you reckon were in that thing, Ayrton? All of them?
Well, there was at least 37.
Yeah. At bare minimum, there were 37 comic books.
Yes.
Considering there were at least 10 long boxes with 300 comics each in them, I would say slightly over 37. And that's not even counting the short boxes or the trade shelves. But my man over here, I'm gonna have to send him some stuff because he's hurting. He doesn't have a physical collection. I mean, he says he does, but it's not even half a shelf.
No, it's pretty much a full shelf.
Don't lie to me. Don't lie to the people.
You saw the picture.
I did.
It goes almost all the way to the end of the shelf.
I did. My man has a couple of comic books that aren't Wolverine. But no, I went through my comic collection last night to just kind of get a feel of some of the stuff I had in physical copies and kind of sort through all the loose comics that I had bought and was too lazy to pull out those long boxes to sort. And about halfway through it, I said, man, I'm not going to be able to read anything today if I keep doing this. And then a tree fell in my backyard, and I was like, fuck.
That's what happens.
Yeah. You wait till the last minute, you're unprepared. I mean, I did manage to read the majority of the material, but making my in-depth, high-functioning brain notes just didn't happen. This is also, I'm sober for this one, so maybe that's the issue.
So am I.
Yeah.
I drank the rest of my beer during the after show.
I didn't figure 3 nights straight on bourbon was anything good for anybody, so I just took the day off. And, Anyway, let's get back into issue 3. It sets the stage of where 2 of the other brothers are. So we know where Jackie has been, and we know that Chuck and Bruce have gone out west, and that only leaves Clint. Now, if you remember, Clint was the one with the pistol and the mohawk. He was I would say he was the show's favorite hamster.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would agree with that.
But anyway, with that, we open up with kind of a story of the West where these guys have been, and
I reckon.
Yeah, reckon. They bring up the word reckon so many times. It's almost like the comics are amazing trope that were in the original series. But you reckon we've been out here too long? You keep saying reckon. I reckon. But
comics, what a concept.
What a concept. Now the next scene that I want to pull up is after they encounter the old chupacabra and what he does to the horses. Because I did kind of laugh at that. Just a pile of horse, and the fact that he's eating horse meat, and they're hanging upside down.
And she drank all the root beer.
Yeah, she drank all the root beer, and she basically she goes all hot and bothered for Bruce. So Or no, it's Chuck, isn't it? It's Chuck that she's got all hot and bothered for. Did
Is
they
it Chuck?
switch? Did they switch who was who? Because I thought Bruce was the one that didn't have spots.
I can still never remember.
I know they called Clint Bruce in the last issue of the main comic, so I don't know that anybody can. Maybe that's the joke. Maybe that's the joke, and it was just too highbrow for us to get. But it's kind of funny to think about it. But they wake up. Let me pull that full page spread up in a different window. I didn't realize it was a full page spread. Let me get that up where you can actually see it. But yeah, they encounter the chupacabra thing, and the design of this thing. Like when I think chupacabra, this is not what I'm thinking.
I thought it was a good design. It has.
Oh, I thought it was a good design
reptilian.
too. I thought it was a good design too. It's not what I was thinking. But it dismantled the steel horse. It's decapitated the regular horse and eaten all of it but the head. It seems. And once it gets full, it starts sniffing around on Bruce. Oh, no, Chuck. Damn it! These fucking hamsters and their name. But it starts sniffing around on Chuck, and they eventually knock it out with a rock and get away from it. And they're saved at the very last minute by Jackie. And that's probably the most epic shot in this entire book.
Yeah,
is when Jackie jumps out to save them.
Which they also don't explain
how he got there. No.
That, and how he dealt with Master Locke lying to him about it.
Right.
They just show up.
Right. Well, he gives him a hug, but not before the chupacabra switches love interest because Jackie is fucking shredded.
that is a great part, right? Do you have that?
Yeah.
Pulled up for this?
Okay. Well, I'll pull it up
here. Okay. Yes, because that did make me laugh.
Yeah, let's get that right back. There we go. He compares the chubby belly to the shredded 15-16 pack, and he just immediately is just like, ooh. But yeah, Jackie saves the day, and then they have a very awkward re-embrace, and it's kind of obvious that these two did not stay in shape. They make a crack about switching to diet root beer, which I can only assume they wanted to be a crack about light beer.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Now that
light beer.
Yeah, now that you put that in my head. I'm going to wonder about that.
I could not find a fan wiki.
You know, that's just disgraceful. There should be more people reading these comic books and talking about
them. There really should.
There should be movie options for this.
Could you imagine a movie version of this?
If it was better than Howard the Duck, it still would not be the word. As long as it could outdo Howard the Duck, it would never be the worst comic movie ever. It would be like Troll 2, the movie. It would be so bad, it would be good.
Well, yeah, that's how you would have to do it. You'd have to have midgets in hamster suits.
Vertically challenged, please.
Sorry, people McNuggets.
That's right. No, those are amputees. Ayrton, be nice.
Oh, my bad.
Sorry, YouTube. It was a good run, guys.
A great run.
It really wasn't. This is crap. But that's
Yes, but it's entertaining crap.
Oh, I hope so. I do. Um, Now we end up the that's only the first half of this book. Well, actually, no, it's like the last quarter of it. The last panel, Master Lock and his Yeti horde are infiltrated by zombified hamsters. So he got Arnold and Rock and managed to save Jean Claude, who has some band aids over his wounds, but they're all like under control. I'm really not sure
Yeah,
that
like
they. I don't think they explained how they did that
no. I
either.
just assumed they were like hypnotized or something.
Right, but the thing is like I have no idea how half the shit that's happened in this comic already happened, and I don't know if they were doing this intentionally or if they were just really constrained to 4 issues. But either way, it makes me so happy because then I can just pretend like I can figure it out on my own or put in my own narrative, and that's half the fun. Because
Yeah.
everything is as ridiculous as this. I mean, you just have to appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah, could you imagine the psychopath that takes like these stories seriously?
Oh dear God! I
You
mean,
know, you know, there's one out there.
oh yeah.
Like, why didn't they explain this? Blah 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 blah. This is crap.
Yeah, he'll event. He's also, he's got Google alerts set up for the black belt hamsters, and he's going to be in our comments right now, being like, no, no, here's why it happened. See, you have to read between the lines.
He has "I heart hamsters" tattooed over his heart, on his chest.
On his forehead. But no. Um, so we're still missing Clint, and Master Lock's in danger. But 3 of the 4 brothers are united. So let's move into my favorite issue of all of this. I mean, the climax issue. Uh,
Yes, the reveal of Clint is pretty amazing.
well, the cover kind of spoils the ending for you a little bit, just because. I mean, I guess it only spoils it as far as as far as by the time you get to where it's going.
Yeah.
But so obviously this is Clint on the cover because of the handgun. I mean, he's the only hamster that ever used a gun. It has to be. And the name of this issue is Clint.
Not on the nose at all.
Now, so we open up and we see this somewhat defeated hamster who's working in a I don't even know what this is. Maybe a pawn
I think
shop
it's like
or
I think it's a pawn shop.
yeah, it's like a pawn shop. But you see the helmet in the background of this first panel, right in between the word bubbles. So there's a little foreshadowing there, but his his given name is now Harry Callahan, and apparently he worked next door to a pet shop owner who has a very strange fetish for hamsters and gerbils and rodents alike, and it's
See,
constantly
this
yeah
is why I had to make the furry comment.
he's constantly trying to get Harry, quote unquote, Harry Callahan, to come hang out, listen to his record with them and whatnot. Very strange stuff. So we kind of go through this.
But
Oh,
but then we find out his usual excuse is he has to get home to his wife and kids.
right. Which he does. Which he does have. We find out that he definitely has a wife and kids. Now, let me get that pulled up here. Running the OBS here. This is almost like work, folks. I'm not too keen on it. but it's still easier than trying to get everything preloaded before the show and labeled. Just kind of doing it on the fly like this. He he goes home and he has his wife Karen. I don't know that that's her name, but she's a total Karen.
Yeah, she looks like a Karen.
She asked to speak to every manager involved in her
Yes.
day. He's got this like beauty queen wearing a tassel and crown to the table daughter, and this son who is a goth kid constantly talking about how everyone's going to die.
You know, as you do.
Yeah, like you do. And he eventually goes to bed after being berated by his wife, and he's like, after 7 years of marriage and taking care of your children like they're my own, can we finally consummate this marriage? And she's going on about how if I cheat on you again, it'll be your fault, all that kind of crap. I mean, I can't imagine how this kid's not just utterly defeated and disgusted with his life. But he goes out to his wood shop, and she even gives him shit about that. And
she also refers to it as that would be bestiality.
Yeah, that was brought up. So I mean, they're still pushing a little.
You hear that, furries?
Yeah.
Even the woman married to a hamster
knows better.
Exactly. Just let that sink in.
Oh man, when Karen's doing better than you are, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah. Got to rethink your life.
But he goes out to his wood shop and he subconsciously cuts a gun out of wood and then smashes it on the ground. Like, no, my name is Harry Callahan. My name is Harry Callahan. And it's very sad. To be completely honest with you, it's a sad scene. But we cut back to the monastery, and the Hun has the three brothers and Lucy and Master Locke captured. Now, how the hell did the brothers get there? Nobody knows. We have no idea. I think they took a jet, maybe. But
kind of reminded me of that V-shaped UFO that was over like Arizona that like 200 people filmed several years ago.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
No? Yeah, I thought it was just like a Blackbird from X-Men. So we encounter, we flash back after we realize that everyone's been captured, and somehow they've gotten free and managed to get to where Clint is because they need his help. So I'm thinking we're doing some time travel here because it did say, earlier with Clint, it was a week ago. So the scenes with Clint are time travel. That just wasn't registering for a minute, but the scenes with Clint are time travel. So apparently they found him before they went back to the monastery after he told them to go fuck himself. Yeah, that's what's happening here. They find him and they have this kind of reunion or whatever, and he keeps denying that he's Clint. And then they bring up Lucy. And then we find out that Lucy is pretty much the reason that they all split up and disbanded.
They call her Yoko.
Well, yeah.
which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't get that the first time around, but yeah, Yoko split up the Beatles. But then she didn't end up with any of them. So, well, I don't know. At least Yoko ended up with John Lennon, right?
Yeah.
So, that was
God,
a nice
she's
little
an
reference.
awful woman.
I would actually be interested to know how much influence Don Chen had on this story, or if he was just, kind of along for the ride. Because it definitely doesn't have his level of just like imaginative antics in it. But I think that I think they did try to capture some of his style of just never knowing where the next page was going to take you.
Yeah, in the actual narrative, they definitely captured that essence of kind of like, yeah, this just happened just 'cause.
Comics.
but but the level of humor wasn't quite there.
No, no. And I think once we get through this issue, I think I have a good idea for the reason of that. But let's just kind of keep moving here. Um, he eventually tells them that he's not going back with them. He's got a life. He's got a wife and children. That's not going to be a thing. So he kicks them out, and then they get captured by Dean, I believe is his name, the pet shop guy.
Wasn't it Richard?
Richard, right? Richard. Where am I getting Dean from?
I don't know.
You're
Is
not
there a
that.
creepy pet shop owner where you grew up named Dean?
No,
Okay.
stop doxing me, Eric. um, so eventually we do move back to finding out that the brothers have been captured, but not before Lucy breaks in to Clint's house while he's filing his wife's feet and being, you know, just
A Mark Wade.
demasculate. Yes, yeah, totally being cucked by his wife here. But yeah, Lucy breaks in and knocks the shit out of the wife. I should have pulled that one up. That was
That was great.
yeah, just
I was
knocks.
a little unsure about Lucy, and then she punched Karen in the face, and
Right.
I was like, okay.
Yeah. And Clint's pretty happy about it, and then he gets punched in the face too. But they go off to save the three brothers that were captured by Richard, and that's when you get the scene of Clint in the Mohawk helmet with the pistol from the cover, and it's probably one of the most epic scenes in the book. Now we're gonna have to kind of to skip around a little bit to the end because if we show too much more, that's a strike. But I do want to
Yeah.
say,
We should also mention that they released all of the rodents
yeah,
in the pet shop, and the gerbils eat Richard.
yes, because and Clint did mention that they earned every nibble.
Yes.
So they get free of all that, and then he's like, "It's good to be back. Once more, we are complete. Reckon." And Clint was like, "Yeah, this was a one-time reunion. I'm going back to my wife and kids. My life isn't perfect, but it's what I want. Come back when you're done saving the world, and we'll have a barbecue." And in the very next page, everybody gets shot in the head and dies.
Yes.
All three brothers, Lucy and Master Lock, even the mutant hamsters that he brainwashed and revived. All of the hamsters are dead, and the radioactive space jello
Has
apparent
arrived.
it arrives and somehow gives Genghis Khan control of the entire world. So Clint starts, wakes up 10 years later and goes to rescue his brothers, and Genghis Khan is just humongous. uh, I mean, there's really no other way to say it. He's huge.
Yeah, he says it's very boring controlling the entire world. I just sit here, eat, and watch TV.
Right. And that's pretty much where we end the comic because Clint shows up to kill this guy and take his time machine and go back and stop him. And then Genghis Khan's like, "Well, I set it up beside me, so in case this happens." And then Clint vanishes, and he's like, "It's called being prepared." Huh? I'm still here. I guess he doesn't stop me. Yet I don't remember killing him back in the day. Interesting paradox. I'll have to figure
And
it
that
out
and that
later, though. American Idol. It's about to start. And that's where it ends. It says to be continued, and that's all we got so far. So I hope that they bring it back, but after 11 years, I'm not that hopeful. I'm not holding my breath.
Well, maybe it'll be like every 20 years it'll come back for a quick miniseries.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good. It's just kind of like a fungus. If you can never really kill it. You have to.
Yeah.
But now, my biggest problem with this book, hands down, my biggest issue, Parsonovich and Don Chen do not interrupt a single time.
Yes.
I got used to their books being interrupted by artists and writer notes and panels, and came to expect it. But the fact that I just didn't get one this time made me very upset.
Oh, totally agree. Especially when we get to the rest of the auxiliary material where they literally are standing there and talking to Chin.
Yeah. We'll actually look at that one at least. We were originally going to do all of the auxiliary material, but like I said, a tree fell in my
Time
yard.
for the announcement.
Yeah, a tree fell in my yard, and I didn't really have time. But it didn't fall on anything important, thankfully. Nothing was destroyed except the tree. It was still a pain in the ass. But yeah, the announcement last week, Don Chen actually reached out to us on Twitter and offered to send us review copies of the 3D episodes, or the 3D issues. So if that actually takes place, we will be covering those specifically with some of the auxiliary material that we don't get to today. And I also wanted everyone to know that I fangirled as soon as I saw his name in the comments. At first, I thought it was somebody screwing with me, but a very nice guy. A real fun follow on Twitter. He's been a big staunch proponent of the show. He's retweeted us several times, tagged in other people for us, and I really appreciate that. So if you're listening, Don, I appreciate it, man.
And I greatly appreciate your response to one of my tweets earlier today.
Yeah. Was that the balls tweet?
Yes, he responded with a gif of a hamster drinking from a water bottle, and it was just perfect.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to reach out and see if he's interested in being interviewed after we review part 3. That might be something we have to get set up. That would be amazing.
Yes, it would. I can't believe that Adolescent Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters is stretching to a 3rd episode.
Well, I mean, to be honest, have we covered anything more fun than this yet?
No, we have not.
I mean, Lock and Key is great comics, and we're definitely going to finish that. But that already knew.
Oh yeah,
we knew that was going to be 4 episodes to begin with. But yeah, the fact that this is stretching into 2, even 3 episodes is kind of amazing. I did not expect to like this as much as I have.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. It is not beta. It is not a beta male. But now what should we actually look at first? We've got 2 options. We can either look at some auxiliary material, which I'd love to do, but there's so much of it that we'll be here all night.
Yeah.
Or we can pull this down and look at other parody type comics.
Oh, I said we do that.
All right. So let me first take a look at this right here. Make sure we're not ignoring anybody in chat. Just Becky. I don't even know if she's still here, but if you are Becky, prepare to strap in because this is really only the beginning of the parody lineup. First off, I want to mention the the naive interdimensional koala commando koalas. That's a mouthful to begin with, but there was a crossover issue with the original adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters.
Which we're now going to have to also get a find copies of to read that as well.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do some digging and just get maybe we could find
We're
the
getting
issue.
down a crazy rabbit hole here.
Well, actually, it's a hamster hole.
Okay. Good points.
Get it right, sir. Trying to find a. There we go. There's a cover image. We'll just open this in a new tab here.
Look at all those tabs.
Look at all those tabs. I know this is exciting, folks. We're just a bundle of preparedness today. Let's add an image here. Then what I'll do while we're
Becky
talking.
says she's still in the chat.
I don't believe her. She got Google Alert set up. She's waiting.
Pixar, it didn't happen.
That's right. All right, here we go. Here's the cover for the koalas. I mean, look at that. Just and you got the hamsters in the background riding around in their RV.
Just waving to him casually.
Well, Clint's got his gun, but
wow. That's still a form of waving.
It well, yeah, I believe they call that presenting in legal definitions. But yeah, you've got the little arrow right there on the cover, pointing out the hamsters were there. But this is just one of many. I don't have images for all of these because I don't have copies of them yet, and I'm a little unprepared. But there's an entire genre of these. I'll try and get some more pulled up while we talk about them. But out of the ones that you've seen from the links that I sent you, which one would you be interested in pulling up first?
It's gonna be That's going to be a tricky one. Probably sultry teenage super foxes.
Oh yeah, the cheesecake one, of course.
Yes.
We'll see if we can find something to pull that up. But what we got for the description of those during the mid '80s, son of Marvel executive Sol Brodsky, Gary Brodsky, started his own comic book company, Solson Publications. The publisher dealt with almost exclusively black and white comics. While Sultry Teenage Super Foxes isn't a direct ripoff of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, its influence and appearance and title of the comic are obvious enough to include it in the list of comparable titles. There are a multitude of things inherently, if not morally, wrong with Super Foxes. So yeah, I've never read one of those, but there are apparently some things morally and inherently wrong with.
Well, the story is riddled with a mind-numbing amount of misogyny and sexism.
Ah. So should we put it on the list?
I think we might have to put it on the list.
Oh man, Linkara reviewed it.
Oh jeez.
Back when he was skinny. Did you hear that he took a shot at Yellow Flash?
No, I didn't.
Oh yeah.
Does anyone still care about Linkara?
Well, they didn't. Probably should have kept it that way. Because it doesn't seem like the smartest thing to do. Start screwing with Yellow Flash.
Yeah, probably not.
We'll get this up on screen for the people. The sultry foxes, as it were. I'm doing it live here. I figured we had done a few episodes about the hamsters, and I didn't want to do any injustice by having to speed through the auxiliary material. So I figured we would have a just kind of a little chat about the different kinds of just imitations that came out. There we go, right there. $2 and this amazing just just literary masterwork of comic book can be yours. Um, Good lord, can I even show this on stream?
I mean, they're not. They have clothes on.
Do they? Is that paint?
I mean, is it any worse than Dead Man's background?
You know, that I don't know, but at the same time, we're not Jesse. You know, we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard, I think.
We do.
Oh man, I hope we do. I love Jesse, but that man's got balls of steel. I don't want to get kicked off before we have at least 100 subs.
It's fair. Well, then next you should bring up genetically modified punk rock pandas.
Oh no. Next, I'm gonna pull up the geriatric gerbils, sir.
Ah.
The geriatric gangrene jiu-jitsu gerbils. Would you tell us about the gerbils if you've got that pulled up?
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about how these came into being.
Well, they were published by Planet X Productions in 1986 and ran for only 3 issues.
Do you notice do you notice a pattern of release times with these? And most of them are coming out around 86.
It's the 4 gerbils are Geezer, Duffer, Zeke, and Codger.
Oh,
a group of old, cantankerous talking rodents who are always arguing and fighting with each other.
Now, how do you fail with a word like cantankerous in your description? I'm actually not finding any suitable images to pull up on stream. I guess I could pull that one up. No, it's still too small. There's not a lot of larger images for these folks. I apologize. I'll see what I can find here. Maybe. Oh, come on, give me something to work with. I'll just pull this up. We'll see what we get with this. There we go. That's those are your gerbils. But yeah, all of these books came out around 85, 86.
1986.
Yeah, 86. Some came out afterwards. Like I believe there was one that was put out in like 2012.
Yes, that was the punk rock pandas and Southern California surfer bats.
Right. I'm not sure why you would try to take this back. The Southern California surfer bats just looks atrocious to begin with.
Yeah, that doesn't even look like fun bad.
No. And I mean, it could be the art style, but again, it
looks like MS Paint.
It does.
I don't know if that's an art style.
Oh man, the official website is a WordPress website. Let's visit this. Hey, I can't talk smack, man. I hate building websites. Oh man, this is the comic book.
Oh.
Wow. This is so bad.
See, MS Paint.
Let's save the image here. Mutants, aliens, time travel, surfing, and Venice Beach. Yeah, there's an entire genre of the stuff, folks. Like people went out and used this formula to make so many comics. And besides the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the Adolescent Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters, I don't think any of them even picked up a little bit, like any semblance of a following.
Now, here's an idea. We should read like the first issue of a collection of these.
Oh yeah,
just the first issue.
Yeah,
just to see. Yeah.
See how bad they are.
Well, just to kind of a diving because Black Belt Hamsters that grabbed my attention right away, right from the start.
Right. Well, I mean that was that was actually one of the first conversations we had on this show. Was we were just talking about the history of some comic books and some ways that people had created their lasting image, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle clones came up. Because I think it's widely accepted that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are, the predecessor of the funny animal comic genre. That's what they make reference to in Adolescent Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters.
Yes.
By the way, what about the parody turtles that they fought? Van Gogh, Pollock, Picasso, and Warhol.
Yes, that was amazing.
After they got done licensing their lives away. I saw your face on a toilet brush earlier. I hate you. Well, all this and more, folks, on the third installment of the Adolescent Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters. We'll cover all the auxiliary material that we currently have. Even if we don't end up getting the 3D comics, I think it's too much to pass up. But
yeah,
I wanted to give those a chance to get here and figure out if that's actually something that we're going to be able to read, because I haven't read a 3D comic in probably 20 years. And I think the last 3D comic I might have read was probably a Ninja Turtle comic. Well, they had the 3D comic that came out with the movie, if I'm not mistaken. That was.
Did they?
I think so. I think the second movie had a 3D comic associated with it. I'm not sure, but I know it had something to do with the movie, because you got the 3D glasses for the movie, and there was a comic book with it that you also could use 3D glasses. So that was back when you still got red and blue 3D glasses at the movie theater, and not those weird ass fucking clear ones that they
plastic.
have now.
Yeah.
There was just something about having the paper 3D glasses.
Yeah. No, I agree.
You knew you were a dork when you put them on. You didn't give a damn. They didn't need to look like, anything that anybody would be wearing. No, you needed to know that this is a fucking nerd. And he's got these white, red, and blue glasses on his face because he wants to.
Okay, we need to add adult thermonuclear samurai pachyderms to the list to read, because just reading over the description here, this sounds amazing.
Adult thermonuclear
samurai pachyderms.
Oh yeah, the elephants.
Yes.
Power pachyderms.
The Three Stooges show up as four enlightened beings.
Oh, there's apparently also a comic called Power Pachyderms that's put out by Marvel, and it looks like it's Elektra and oh man, yeah, I've just gotta. I'll just pull this up. Maybe small, but I'll do the best I can with it. There we go. Warning.
Yeah,
any similarity between this book and the X-Men is probably just a cheap commercial ploy.
And Clarinetto, who is the Magneto-looking villain,
Oh
is the
yeah,
leader of the Brotherhood of Evil Musicians,
that's
and his
right.
team of new musicians. They resemble Willie Nelson, Madonna, Bruce Springsteen, Prince, and Cyndi Lauper.
uh, let's see here. Why am I only finding power pachyderms? Is that the team? I mean, I see them on the list, but I don't see the comic.
It was changed to Power Pachyderms before publication, so that is it.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah. So I just
So, and one of them has retractable adamantium tusks.
yes, that's the Wolverine knockoff. Then you got the Silver Samurai knockoff,
Yep.
the Elektra. It's just oh man. Uh, I was I was talking about how I was going through my collection. I found my Obnoxio the Clown and the X-Men comic today.
Nice.
Uh, yeah, I'd buy any kind of weird shit like that. He is an actual Marvel character.
So this is Marvel canon, everybody.
Yeah, this is actually Marvel canon. This happened. This is real. I don't know if it's real
Yes, and
Marvel canon, but
well, I mean, Endgame spoilers. They do show up at the end and help defeat Thanos.
oh yeah,
So
well, Obnoxio single-handedly takes Thanos out. I think everybody knows
yeah.
that already.
Oh, okay.
There we go. There we go. Up on stream now. There's Obnoxio the Clown versus the X-Men #1. So just so everybody can kind of have an idea of what we're dealing with here. There have been some very weird comics in life. And you should not read them just because they're weird comics, because occasionally you come across a gem like the Adolescent Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters. I think that's the moral
Exactly.
of these shows so far.
Yes.
Now, don't get me wrong, some of this is some hot garbage. I have boxes full of hot garbage that I love for being hot garbage. But I know not everybody like that. So, you know, my whole thing is it always goes back to what I was talking about at the very beginning before I even had a co-host. There's so much drama and strife going on within the comic community these days that people have forgotten what it used to be about. And it was about fun. It was about
Yeah.
interesting. It was about mysterious. It was about picking up a book and being mad that you were done with it and you weren't going to be able to read the rest of the story until next week or month.
And I mean, really, if we can just get people back to just, no matter how batshit insane it is, put it on paper.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the Comicscape movement with the Indiegogo campaigns and stuff like that. You know, I mean, look at Ethan Van Sciver. The man revived a property from 1994 or 5 with Cyberfrog. I mean, Cyberfrog would have been 30 years ago. Cyberfrog would have been put in the classification of adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters as a Ninja Turtle knockoff.
Yeah.
But now it's probably the most well-funded comic book in our lifetime. I mean, he's over $750,000. I fully expect the book in its lifetime to hit over $1 million in sales.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's just all, and that's insane. I mean, it takes you all the way back to the 40s and 50s when you would be able to ship 1 million comic books. I mean, I know that's not $1 million for 1 million comics, but still, back in those days when you could ship 1 million comic books at 5 cents a piece, you were doing good.
Yeah, and that they would actually sell.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times they would sell twice. That's kind of a dirty little secret. That's the uh, that's the trick with the cover. Have you ever looked at a comic book that would normally have a barcode on it, even from like the 80s or 90s, but instead of a barcode, it had that little Spider-Man face?
Yeah.
Well, there are two variations printed of every comic book that goes to retail, and then you have the retail version, which is barcoded, and you have your direct market version, which is not barcoded. The fact that there's no barcode on the direct market version prevents it from being resold legally or something like that. But it's a defense of having a news outlet, or not a news outlet, a newsstand from back in the day. I don't even know if they still exist anywhere, but you used to be able to go to a stand or just an open air store that had newspapers, magazines, and comic books,
Hmm.
and you'd just be walking down the street and you'd put your money on the counter and you'd take whatever you wanted. That's pretty much how it worked. You've seen it in the movies, and there used to be one in my hometown that I would go to and buy comic books at before we really got into having a lot of local comic shops. During the mid '90s boom. But you would take your comic book when you would buy it for 15 or 20 cents or whatever the price was at the time, and then that newsstand guy would say, "Hey kid, once you read that, if you bring it back to me, I'll give you a nickel for it." So he'd get to sell the same book for the same price 2 or 3 times. And then
Mm.
he'd get to return them as if they weren't sold. So the newsstands and the retailers were making a killing, and it was screwing the comic industry. So that little head in the corner was the solution, because the way you would return books, instead of returning the whole book because of shipping costs, you just rip the cover off and send it back. Same way they do with magazines these days.
Oh, okay.
So if you got a cover back without a barcode on it, you didn't get money for it. And that was their answer. So
Hmm.
little lore there, little background history. Want to slip some of that in every now and again.
Yeah, try and learn some people some something.
Yeah, if only. But but no, I did thoroughly enjoy the auxiliary material for the radioactive black belt hamsters that I read. Again, I apologize to everybody for not getting to all of it, but I figured with the 3D issues, we'll have more than enough to cover, as long as we cover the stuff that came out afterwards. Um, there is one issue I'd like to talk about. I'm not going to pull it up because, like I said, I'd like to go over it in full. But let's talk about the what is it? The adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters and the Japanese massacre. I believe it was.
Well, let's see. What's the massacre? The Japanese invasion.
Yes, massacre the Japanese invasion. Um, and then when you open it up, it's they clobber the manga invasion, and that book picks up right where they left off halfway through the original series, like pretty much after issue 5. They pretend nothing else ever happened, but the whole premise is that they get fired from Eclipse Comics because Japanese manga has taken over. So what do? They declare manga their enemy.
Well, and first Clint rigs the comic book offices to explode.
But yeah, he does. He does send them a bomb. Um, Definitely something you couldn't get away with now.
No, not nowadays.
Um, Now, one thing I do have to say is that the design of the hamsters after they had aged definitely helped out the storytelling and the Dynamite issues. Um, but that was the
Yeah.
problem with the original Ninja Turtles as well. Like you said, you didn't keep up with those a lot. Originally, all four Ninja Turtles wore red mask. Originally, all four Ninja Turtles would use all the weapons, or they all used bow staffs or whatever. There was really hard to tell them apart.
Well, and originally they didn't really have the personality differences either, right?
Right. That all came with evolution of the storylines, but the first issue, Shredder dies. Like they didn't intend to pick up or be offered a toy deal. I don't think it was a comic book that Ethan and Laird created with their tax refunds. Like that was how they paid printing costs with their tax refunds from their real jobs, and it just got picked up by a toy company, and the toy company made cartoons out of it, and the rest was pretty much history. Now you can still buy Ninja Turtle comics. I've got Batman Ninja Turtle comics, team up. Talk about something that might be fun to read one day. Also, Don Chen, if you are listening, Adolescent, Radioactive, Black Belt, Hamsters, Batman team up win. Can't let those damn turtles beat you guys out.
Well, would Batman be the best team up?
Now you got me thinking. Okay, you got me. You got it. I got it. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Adolescent, Radioactive, Black Belt, Hamster team up win. I want these hamsters to have morphers. I want to see them grow into giants. I want to see them piloting robots and fighting the Statue of Liberty.
There we go. Statue of Liberty comes to life to take revenge on them for blowing it up.
Yep.
And then so they have to get the Power Rangers help, and they get
They knock them out and steal their morphers.
Yeah.
I like this. Maybe we should get some licensing rights and just do it ourselves.
We should.
Oh man, want to talk about the worst comic we'd ever review? Ours.
Are you kidding me? It would be fantastic.
Fantastically awful.
Exactly.
But no, kind of reeling it back in.
Yeah.
I figure we got another 10 or 15 minutes, and we'll wrap it up since it's the late start this evening for Game of Thrones fans. I'm sure it wasn't even done when we went live, but I wanted to
see what we do for you people.
Yeah, I wanted to knock it back a little bit to see if anybody was taking a break or not watching it, because I guess they were watching. But no, to kind of reel it back in, you make the thumbnails, but he says all the stuff that gets his channel in jeopardy, Becky. Sorry, I just saw your balls of steel comment. You do make the thumbnails, and you make great thumbnails, but I mean, he talks some pretty hard shit on his channel. You have to admit. Let me get these guys off the screen here. No, like I said, we're gonna cover the auxiliary material, and if we get our hands on them, the 3D issues in a future episode. I'm seriously gonna reach out and see if Mr. Don Chen would be interested in doing a little bit of an interview with us. We'll get some questions together, and because there's
I
a
promise
lot.
I'll behave.
I don't believe you. I'll just keep my finger on the mute button. I'll have your audio in my ear, but they won't be able to hear you, and I'll just make you repeat everything if I want you to say it. I'm gonna need you to do the same thing for me. There's gonna be a lot of dead air on this show, folks. Really, we're expecting Don to cover it for us.
No, we'll just have to change it to like a 1.5-minute delay. So if we say anything stupid, we can cut it.
Yeah, I'm not that quick. It's just gonna fly. But no, we are going to do one final episode on the Adolescent Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters. I may see if we just do that when it's like a long running show. Um, just start a little earlier or run a little later. Definitely would be on a Saturday because
Yeah.
Monday mornings are a bitch. But all in all, I really do like it. I've liked everything I've read of it so far, and that's kind of hard to do because even as a Green Lantern fan, I can look at some Green Lantern comic books and say this is garbage. Even the things I don't like about this book, I understand and I appreciate them. So I think
Yes.
I think that's rare, and I don't even think you have that with your original Ninja Turtles comics. The first four issues are very expensive and highly sought after, but I wouldn't say they're better than these. The first five issues of ARBBH, but
Yeah. I don't know. It's just fantastic. I love that kind of like zany, outrageous humor,
right,
and I think from like the first page of the original one, I was laughing,
yeah,
and
and I mean, it's a ride that just never stops, and that's you don't get that anymore. Um, nowadays you get, and it was so much for so little too. Back in those days, you'd get 30, 40 pages of story for dollar 50. Nowadays, you might get condensed. I'd call it maybe 8 to 10 pages of story for $4.
yeah, when you throw all the takes all the ads out and
No,
whatnot.
no, you get 22 pages of comic book still, but I'd say that it was unnecessarily fluffed.
Yeah,
They fluff out 8 pages worth of content into 22 and sell it to you week after week for $4 a piece, and that's something that's majorly wrong with the industry. We were talking about it the other day on Twitter. I believe it was Thor Odinson had made some comment about it. But having worked in a comic shop before, and the main thing with comic books is you have to replace your audience. If you don't replace your audience, there is no future of the industry. Excuse me, folks. There is no replacement. So if you can't find kids that want to start reading comic books, then there's no hope for the future of the industry because eventually all the people like me are going to die off and nobody's going to want my comic books. I mean, maybe 5 or 6 of them somebody will want, but the rest of it will be garbage to anybody but me because they have sentimental value. I didn't buy my comic books thinking, oh, I'm going to be rich when I sell these one day, like a lot of people did in the 90s. I bought them because I loved the stories and I wanted to read them, or I did read them and I hated them, but I wanted to read them.
yeah,
And when you have kids walking into these stores, I mean, a pack of Magic cards or a pack of Pokemon cards or a pack of baseball cards are going to get the sale every time over a comic book at $4 a piece. Now, with Alterna, with the Image First line, with the Marvel True Believers line, dollar comic book, $1.50 comic books, that's a step in the right direction. It doesn't fix everything by any means, but it's definitely a step in the right direction.
yeah.
So, I mean, that's a little food for thought on that note. But I mean, really, we've got to do something to get readers back interested in this stuff. And I think the seriousness of the medium, the decades of deconstructionism, and just overall serious level of people being serious, like people like Mark Waid and Gail Simone. I mean, for God's sake, yeah, you guys are fantastic creators. You have a great legacy, but you take yourselves too seriously.
Yeah.
And if you take yourself
Well,
too seriously and the stuff you write comes out like that, then you're not going to entice people to want to read it.
and I think that's one of the reasons I was bummed that Chin and Parsinovich didn't show up in the Dynamite run is because like they were taking the piss out of themselves.
Right. Well, I mean, not only that, but that was a signature piece of their style. Like
Yeah,
they,
but I mean, it was always like Parsonovich is always like the drug addicted like bum who doesn't get paid enough for his work and is lazy and doesn't want to draw like action scenes because it's too hard.
yeah, and they always called Chin like a degenerate capitalist.
Yeah, and, and like they had like they were having fun while they were creating this, and that's
Right.
like in any creative medium, not just comic books. Like if you're a painter or anything, you need to have fun with it and enjoy it, not use it as like a platform to browbeat.
Hmm. Yeah, I think everybody can kind of take umbrage, or not take umbrage, but take a note from that. Like we need apolitical comics. We need fun comic books again. Peter Simonelli. I'm sorry, I'm bad with names. But at Alterna Comics, the owner of Alterna Comics, he has that idea right. If you read stuff like Adam Wreck or Lilith Dark or just any what is it, Age of Adventure, Amazing Age is the name of it. But he put out some all ages comic books that I buy religiously, so that when my kids are old enough to enjoy comics, that they'll have them to read, because he's got it right. He puts out comics for everybody. He has all ages, teen, mature. You know, he puts out comics for everybody, but not in the same sense of like an Avengers comic.
Yeah,
You got some horror comics like The Chair. You got just all kind of all ages comics for everybody, boys, girls. You know, not targeted, whatever. Um, and the stories for these comics are different, but they're fun. I wouldn't say they were as much fun as Hamsters, but that's a high bar.
yeah.
So uh, I think I should take a note
So
from the yawning.
I was just gonna say, it sounds like we're gonna be winding down here.
Yeah. I that's pretty much all we've got for this evening. I know it was kind of a short episode, but I really did enjoy stepping back into the Hamsters, with especially with what we were working on last week. With the DC 1 million and the Spider-Man One More Day, all of that noise. And then yesterday with the serious dinosaur comics and all the names and everything, it was just, again, it's always a breath of fresh air to sit down and read something that'll make you
Yeah.
laugh. So, I mean, with that said, that's all I got. You got any final thoughts you want to?
If you don't pick up a copy of these and read them, you're a communist fool.
I mean, that's fair. I support that.
Okay, that's my closing
You
statement.
can pick up the original run of Adolescent, Radioactive, Black Belt, Hamster pretty much anywhere. I believe they have them on Amazon. They've got them on My Comic Book Shop. They're not expensive. They should be. But if you do, um, go on Twitter, take a picture of them when you have them, and at Real Don Chin. Um, he did a great job, and I think more people should appreciate them. So,
I would agree, and
uh,
at us as well, so
absolutely,
we can see it.
always at us. But,
Well,
uh, Volume 2, you may be able to get a trade into your local comic shop. Always do that if you can. If you can't, the trade is available on Amazon as well. The price varies. I think I saw one for like $8 earlier, pre-owned.
yeah, I
So
think
it's not expensive. It's 4 issues. It's 20, 30 minutes of your time to sit down and enjoy. But there's some auxiliary material in the back where they talk about the drawing of the characters, all of that good stuff. It's good. You should check it out. That's I can't say that enough. You should get out and read these comic books. So far,
Yeah.
this has been the most fun comic that we've read on. I mean, Lock and Key is the best comic that we've reviewed so far. I think still holds that, but these are the most fun comics, and I think
Yes.
there's a real portion between the difference of those two because sometimes you're just not in the right headspace to read something like Lock and Key. Like I don't fall into the mundane math field of well, I'm in a bad headspace, so I'm gonna flag everybody. But sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't
You
want
don't
to
want to
see
read
somebody.
something that heavy.
You don't want to read something where somebody gets stabbed in the gut or there's implications of sexual assault. Sometimes you want to read
Yeah.
something where a guy takes a bazooka and blows his own boat up with it, accidentally even. So, but anyway, until next time, folks. This has been the Gospel of Comics with your host, Church of Failure, and Eric McCartney. And we greatly appreciate you coming out, watching, dropping a like, subscribing, sharing, all of that nonsense. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't
And
like.
if this episode gets 20,000 likes, Church will buy all of his kids pet hamsters.
I hate you. But sure, 20,000 likes on this video. I'll get my kids hamsters. And I'll name them after the adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters. But with that, good night, folks. I'm going to go ahead and shut her down and get some sleep so that I can go be a real person again next week.
Yep.
We should talk about what we're doing next week, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Before we jump off.
Let me...
Let's see. Yeah, go ahead and pull up the calendar. I had to put him in charge of something. He was getting lazy.
So Saturday we have our. Are we still doing this signature series, or did I forget to change this?
We were going to do a signature series of something. I think we
Yeah,
were
we
going to
still...
put a poll up, or we were going to take options. But
So the signature series is basically going to be an ongoing series that we're going to read, get caught up, and kind of keep up with it. And more or less.
Yeah, we'll cover it about once a month until we run out of material to cover, and then we'll switch series and jump back in every now and again if it's continually coming out or once we finish it.
And then Sunday is the Umbrella Academy, volumes 1 and 2, with Atomic Denny, right?
Yep. As long as he shows up. He's supposed to have come on sometime beforehand, but he's a busy guy, so if that may be subject to change, but we'll let everybody know. But that's next week. If you have any suggestions, if you have anything you like, anything you don't like, drop us a comment, shoot us a message on Twitter. All that information's in the links down below. And just have a great day, guys.